Hello and welcome to the Comic Cave. I'm Ramsey, aka Captain Away, and today I'm looking at the 2015 to 2016 series, Welcome Back. Welcome Back is a comic from indie publisher Boom Studios, who has been garnering a lot of attention the past several years by publishing some comics that have been very well received by critics and fans alike. Titles anyone frequenting comic shops or talking about comics have probably heard about. Things like Irredeemable, Giant Days, Lumberjanes, The Backstagers, and Goldie Vance. Welcome Back may not be as well known, but it certainly fits well alongside those other titles. The comic initially came to my attention because from the end of issue 2 on, it is drawn by Batgirl and the Birds of Prey artist Claire Rowe, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite artists in the industry. But the work of writer Christopher Sebela and first artist Jonathan Brandon Sawyer are definitely noteworthy as well, so let's take a look at how this Wonder Team all works together on one book and take this away. Our comic opens on 26-year-old Molly Quinn, just your standard early adult millennial. As is shown to us when we see that she has some dead-end job, is still uncertain of her future, is disappointed by the way of the world, is being creeped out by weirdos in dark alleyways, and has a serial killer for a dad. Okay, maybe not those last two. Also, probably not typical is her weird dream of these Miami Vice looking dudes fighting over something before one shoots the other, and then himself. Actually, I have that dream all the time. That's normal, right? Her current boyfriend doesn't think it's normal and doesn't like how she thrashes about in her sleep while having these dreams and breaks his nose, so he storms out, breaking up with her while calling her a psycho. Men, am I right, ladies? Part of the reason for Molly not being able to find her place is because she had completely uprooted her life in order to get away from all the people obsessed with her, simply due to her being the daughter of the infamous serial killer, the Omaha Ripper. So she moved to Kansas City and changed her name from Maisie Lyra to get away from all of it. But it doesn't seem like moving is going to make her life any easier, because the next night at a party, she's suddenly attacked by some rando, who speaks some magic words to her, and suddenly we find Molly doing flip kicks and throwing guys out of windows. I mean, that guy did invoke the title. That's a defenestrationable offense if I've ever heard one. They quickly explain what's really going on here. It seems there's a forever war fought between repeatedly reincarnating people called sequels. This war is primarily fought by assassins called soldiers who have a single specific target that they're supposed to chase down. When they find them, their goal is to kill that assassin and then kill themselves so that they can both be reincarnated into a new life and start the hunt all over again. The war is being conducted by people called Atlases, who also reincarnate every life, but seem to be using that as an opportunity to move themselves into positions of wealth and power with each new life, to help ensure that they can keep the war quiet, but also keep it funded and going. There's also grunts who are at the bottom of the totem pole. They're just there as support for the Atlases and soldiers. If they get the chance to prove their loyalty enough, they might just be able to move up on the totem pole and become a soldier, though I'm not really clear on why you would want to. This endless war is the source of Mally's weird dreams and inability to feel like she belongs in this world. No, I'm pretty sure that's still just being a millennial, Molly. It also explains the other character, Tessa, who's been going around searching for something. She wasn't just there to help world build, she's apparently Mally's target, which means Mally is hers. Aww, this merciless killer drew little hearts around the picture of her target. How gapo, eh? Tessa is clearly ready to confront her target, as is illustrated to us by constant attacks from nameless attackers, like in this airport bathroom, or these grunts in an elevator looking to climb the ladder. Quid pro no? That's terrible. Mally, on the other hand, is only just awakened and so is not ready to fight, despite backflip kicks providing evidence to the contrary, which is why, when Mally returns home, she finds this little girl waiting for her in her room. Oh shit, it's her dad? The Omaha Ripper guy was a sequel? Actually, that explains a lot. I love how despite the complete absurdity of this situation, Molly can't stop her gut reaction of correcting dad to stepdad, and how reincarnated dad, despite being an eternal assassin, already woken up for some reason, still has to iterate the point that she's going to get in trouble with her parents for sneaking out. That's freaking great. Her stepdad, Carl, gets her out of the house to take her to where she can train up and get ready for her part of the war. Wait, the little girl's going to drive? Should we let the little girl drive? how does she reach the pedals? As they're going, cops start chasing them for some reason, maybe because they let a little girl drive, but this gives reincarnated Dad a chance to show Mally what being a soldier is really about. So she begins jumping around from cop car to cop car, taking out the pursuers like some kind of miniature Yoda. Oh wait, sorry, that's probably more like a regular size Yoda, I guess. But damn man, Carl is one badass little 10-year-old girl. He also gives Mally pretty much the best explanation of the war that we get, both feeding her a line about destiny and saying that each kill is a point, with the goal being to be on the side that gets to max points first. So I guess it's kind of like if All Eternity was a battle royale game. Also, we see that if you don't fight, then you're open game for everyone else still fighting the wars, so that's at least incentive to not question your own role. The place he takes her to doesn't actually want to teach Molly how to fight, they simply want to remind her how things work, and that means sending her out on a mission to kill a sequel they say has gone rogue. Mally initially doesn't want to kill anybody, but she can't shake centuries of programming, so she decides to follow him for a while, just to see what's up. But when she comes under attack by some other grunts and soldiers, she quickly finds herself falling back into familiar patterns and ends up chasing the man down. It helps a bit that he's apparently a serial killer, a grim reminder of how her father was before he became an adorable little girl. Man, Carl is the best. Molly's fight with the Rogue brings them near a subway, but when he nearly shanks her, she defends herself by kicking him into an oncoming train. Ouch. The kill seems to shake the last few cobwebs away from Molly, and now she's ready to fight. She asks for a great big bag of weapons, that apparently is pretty standard even though, like, holy shit, what war is this, GTA 6? And also for a message to be sent to Tessa to set a meeting point for the showdown. Each person spends a day enjoying their last day on Earth before heading to the meetup point, surrounded by a bunch of other members of the war because for some reason their intentions seem to be a bit in doubt. I guess we get a little bit of a clue as to why with one last flashback, where we see them in their most recent previous life, strangely enough in a car together, and seemingly on the run together, before they... oh, well, that's, different. It seems all the others didn't have much to worry about though, because Molly and Tessa are ready for business. I love this image of them approaching each other with their past selves lined up alongside them. Damn, that's awesome. They get right down to trying to kill each other in another awesome art spread. Oh man, did you break her nose too? Man, what's up with you and breaking noses, Molly? Molly hasn't gotten over her lack of desire to kill though, and reveals that she actually has a bomb strapped to herself, ready to kill herself instead of killing her target. Tessa, it seems, doesn't feel too different from Molly, and her attempt to talk the other woman down sounds an awful like a love confession to me, and it seems to work. Well, I guess those hearts from earlier were less cat moe and more just honest emotion. Who knew? After a short makeout sesh, the two turn their guns on the other sequels gathered around them, ready for an ending like Thelma and Louise, or Butch and Sundance, or some reference that's not 40 plus years old. I really can't think of one. Has Hollywood just gotten less bleak or something? We don't see the outcome of this shootout though. We don't even see the events of it, just the aftermath as Carl, or I guess I should really refer to him by his current name of Lorena, is sent by some atlases to investigate their disappearance. In order to do this, or in other words, in order to send a 10-year-old across the country as an assassin, they create a cover story by, I guess, killing Lorena's uncle. That's kind of messed up, but it gives her parents a reason to leave town, leaving her behind in the protection of a nice elderly couple down the street. The Capras, though, are actually just grunts, looking to move up to soldiers in their next lifetime by proving their worth when they help Lorena track down the missing lovebirds. They start where the showdown happened, only to find that other sequels have apparently been inspired by Tessa and Mally's rebellion, even leaving a little memorial to them. While some people think the pair perished in the shootout, Lorena's investigation eventually leads them to a capsized train in the desert. It seems the train had a car that was intended as an Atlas safe house if it was ever needed, and after escaping, Tessa and Molly had apparently been living there to fly under the radar. Guess they weren't too under the radar though, because it seems some soldiers and grunts tracked them down and attacked the train, causing it to crash. Safe house, schmafe house, am I right, Babs? That's where Lorena finds the wreckage and evidence of Molly's death, because I'm sure she wouldn't leave those Doc Martens behind for anything. Anything. The Capras seize this opportunity to clear Tessa and Molly dead to their superiors and claim that Darn, wouldn't you know it, Lorena also died in the confrontation. So they drive Lorena out into the desert to get rid of her and her little dog too. But the dog proves smarter than them, taking them by surprise from behind. What a good dog, yes you are, yes you are. Lorena's dog, Showtime, was actually originally Mally's dog, and when she went off to die, she left Showtime with Lorena. Lorena repeatedly refers to Showtime as Sylvia, seeming to indicate that the dog is somehow the reincarnation of someone he knew in a previous life. There's actually a lot of build-up around this idea, including even at one point introducing us to the real Sylvia in a flashback. But I hadn't mentioned the dog yet because, well, nothing actually ever comes of this side plot, which is honestly kind of disappointing. Showtime's help gives Lorena the chance to free herself and take the Capras out instead, and she buries the bodies in the desert while calling her parents to effectively say goodbye because she realizes she can't go back at this point. Not sure where to go next, Lorena takes Showtime to a park to decide their next move, when Showtime suddenly runs off, leading Lorena straight to a cuddling Tessa and Molly, who, shocker, are still alive after all. But you're Doc Martens! I was so sure! With their safe house schmape house blown, Tessa and Molly had begun to search for the fabled underground, which is said to be the only escape from the endless war. What on earth are those faces about? What is that supposed to relay? The underground is also said to be a fairy tale, but with their backs to the wall, I guess they didn't know what else to throw their hope into. Tessa, Molly, Lorena, and Showtime then all make the rather bizarre choice to get on a plane and fly down to South Africa where Tessa is from. I guess because she for some reason believes that's where they need to go for their only lead to the underground. Instead, this only gets them caught by Tessa's mom, as it seems Tessa's dad was briefly ruler of the country and is still an important wealthy figure in the country with a lot of political pull, and Tessa's mom is an Atlas, so has her own power and pull. Tessa's mom realized what and who Tessa was right away, and woke her very young so she could spend her life training and preparing for the confrontation with Mally. Despite being very disappointed with how that turned out, she seems to be unwilling to kill her daughter, and her daughter's friend, and decides to instead trap them under house arrest for the rest of their lives. She apparently hopes that all that is really happening is puppy love, and eventually they'll get sick of each other, realize they were just mistaking hate for love, and get back to killing each other off. After just a short time of this though, Mally and Tessa run across some other sequels by the gate of the mansion. Sequels who have been inspired by Mally and Tessa's story and see them as heroes. The estate guards find these other two, kill them, and destroy their cell phone. Mally realizes that everything that's happening is an effort to keep everything quiet, to keep word from spreading. They realize that this entire war across the ages is a huge clandestine secret that the Atlases have done everything they can to keep quiet. And if the one thing that the Atlases want is quiet, then the best form of rebellion is to make as much noise as possible. So Mally and Tessa film a confession about the entire scheme, the entire war, everything, and put it up on YouTube for all the world to see. Like anyone watches anything on YouTube anymore. Cornered, Tessa's mom lobs her last-ditch attack on them, saying that if the war ends, so does all of it. The reincarnations, the memories, the systems, everything. Tessa and Molly don't buy it, instead choosing one last fight to get away from Tessa's controlling mother before walking out the gates to the rest of their lives. Which we don't really get to see how that goes, beyond a brief glimpse at 6 months later to see that they're still together and that some memories might just be starting to fade. But that doesn't matter because all that really matters is the life they're on in the here and now. And that's where this comic ends, stopping annoyingly short of telling us anything about what's really going on. In particular, I would like to know why the war started and what the goal of the war was, but we never get those answers, and I find that very aggravating. But I don't think the comic was intended to end at 8 issues. The ending feels very rushed, and the last issue as a whole feels like it was suddenly skipping around as quickly as it could to get to a conclusion. The abandoned plotlines like Sylvia and the underground person they were supposedly going to South Africa to meet are just more signs that it wasn't supposed to end yet. Still, in the time that we get, they do sneak in just enough information to give me some theories about what's going on. Tessa's mom tells them that they're the ones who actually started the war, an idea Mally and Tessa initially denied, but seem to embrace later. The brief possible glimpse they give of that first life might offer some clarity. It looks like they might have just been some kind of Romeo and Juliet situation, and the two tribes of early humanity that they were from, and attempting to keep the two of them apart, learned what fighting and killing were. Essentially some kind of star-crossed Cain and Abel thing that taught humanity about war. The two were then programmed throughout their resurrections to believe that instead of loving each other, they actually hated each other and were sent to kill each other again and again. And an entire war grew out of this, with neither side really realizing or even remembering the point, but continuing to fight anyway. I think the idea is that the Atlases, who primarily were responsible for keeping the war going, were both complacent in the power the endless wars gave them, and afraid about the uncertainty surrounding everybody's ability to resurrect, which they probably knew as little about as everybody else. Of course, the whole thing isn't written entirely unlike a magical realism story, and since we never actually learned if Molly and Tessa would actually resurrect, we do have to somewhat question if all of this was really supposed to be what was actually happening anyway. Or maybe that's all just thinking way too much about an 8-issue comic, and I should just get to the breakdown. As I said, I don't think this comic was supposed to last only 8 issues, and that is evident in a lot of ways, like the aborted storylines involving Sylvia in both her last human incarnation and her current dog incarnation, as well as a few hints about Lorena's own sequel target that the creators made a point of showing to us, or in how the story never really explained that much about what is going on. And that can definitely be frustrating for readers, especially those who might not be science fiction fans where this kind of thing is a bit more normal to experience. But learning all these things is also not really the point of the story, which is about embracing the current life you have, because whether you're resurrected or not isn't as important as how you live in the here and now. It's also about the idea that love transcends time, space, gender, and race, as Tessa and Molly's feelings for each other are able to continue on no matter who they're resurrected as. I really enjoy that the creators embrace this unique story setup to get this unique outlook across, because it's a message I think the world could really use more of right now. It also doesn't hurt that the work of both artists is pretty strong, especially their ability to capture everything from tenderness to casual to high-octane action. So, I'm giving this series a recommendation level of high. Again, it's primarily people who aren't used to science fiction that will be the most put out by this comic, but I firmly believe the characters, story, and art are good enough and compelling enough to pull you in and make the ride worth the effort. The collected editions get 2 Infinity logos. That's gonna be more on the side of good, but maybe a bit towards the middle on this one. That's because while it is a good comic, there isn't much reason to get the collection beyond that. There is a bonus cover gallery in both volumes, which is pretty nice, and volume 2 even comes with a little bonus Claire Rowe art, which you know I appreciate, but that's all you really get. Could be worse, but could be better. Thanks everybody for watching. If you do enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe, and hey, even share these videos with other people you think might be interested. The more subscribers I get, the more it helps me feel like actually putting in that 40+ hours of work it takes to make one of these videos. Not that I'm gonna be stopping either way. I love comics, man. So for now, it's on to the next comic, and I hope to see you then, right here in the Comic Cave.